Remind them about the move of the Holy Ghost. Remind them about the days of Benson Idahosa, the men who walked with God. Remind them about the days of Catherine Kuhlman, when the real power of God was still tangible. Remind them about the days of the late Babungidi. Remind them about the days of the late N.J. Sitole. They were preaching the gospel without compromising. It's either you are in or you are out. There is no gray area. You cannot stand in between. Make up your mind today. Are you in or you are out? Remind them of the days of the late Babu Bengu, who were preaching the gospel. He came with what is called a back to God revival. They were filling tents. They were doing crusades and revivals. It was not about collecting offerings and pledges. Remind them it was not about collecting tithes. Remind them it was not about collecting seeds and selling oil and selling salt and selling water. Remind them it was about saving souls. After every revival, remind them that there was an altar call that they used to call, calling everybody back to Jesus. Come to Jesus because he saves. That is why today I'm not here to tell you about J. Israel, because J. Israel is just a mere human being. He can die even tomorrow. Remind them about Hari and Krishna. They came and they introduced what they introduced, but they died. Remind them there is a day that is coming, which is the day of the Lord, when Jesus shall come, when he shall come for his bride. His bride must be prepared and his bride must be ready. Remind them that it's not about the positions that they have in their churches. Remind them that with their positions that they possess in their churches, they can still go to hell with those positions. Remind them that with their jackets that they are wearing, covering so much debt and iniquity within their hearts and within their minds, covering them with white garments and white blazers and nice suits and everything. Remind them that it's not about all those things. Hypocrites. It's not about all those things. Remind them that the gospel is not about being close to your pastor. Remind them that you can be close to your men of God, because the Bible says on that day there shall be what is called the gnashing of teeth. On that day, when the day shall come, Jesus is not going to look for those who were part of the Back to Christ movement or for those who were part of J. Israel Church. God is not going to look for those. The Bible says you shall stand as an individual before the throne of grace and you shall give an account of what you did in this world. Remind them that there is a day that is coming. Remind them that on that day you shall stand alone. You are not going to stand as an assistant pastor. Remind them you are not going to stand as a prophet. You are not going to stand as an apostle. Remind them you are not going to stand as a bishop. Remind them on that day you shall stand as an individual and you shall give an account of everything that you did in this world. Remind them that on that day the Lord shall begin to ask you, I gave you an assignment. The only assignment that I gave to you is the assignment according to John chapter 24, when the Bible says, and Jesus said to Peter, Peter, if you love me, feed my flock. Remind them that on that day Jesus is going to ask, did you feed my flock or you exploited my flock? Remind them that it's about feeding the flock, not about exploiting the flock. I heard his voice clearly speaking and saying, remind them that during the 1900, 1901, 1906, there was a revival that was spearheaded by a man, William J. Seymour, which is called the Azusa Revival. Remind them that during that revival, there was no stage managing of miracles. There was no stage managing of prophecies. Remind them